Hey everybody, welcome back. Microstamping. Microstamping is a hot issue in the news because they're trying to push for microstamping, but they've already been trying to do it. They've been trying to do it since 2007. As a matter of fact, the law was passed in 2007 in California. California has a microstamping law, and it's been under a lot of controversy ever since. And now New York has passed this, as I understand it, the microstamping law, and that sets, again, precedents. California and New York have done it, so let's make everybody do it. And of course, like everything else, this infringes on your Second Amendment, folks, because it also infringes on your privacy. What is microstamping? For those of you who don't know what this is, it's where they take a laser etching tool, and this is done at the factory where the guns are made, and it makes an engraving, a microscopic engraving on the firing pin, so that when you drop the hammer and you fire your bullet, you discharge your brass, and where the hammer struck, it will leave a microscopic mark on the brass that can be identified on your little primer when it pops your primer and you eject your bullet. So they can read that under a microscope and they know what gun it came from.
But that's redundant because you can already do that.
With ballistics.
Yeah, every gun is tested.
But where they want to take that a step further is knowing where that gun is before they find the brass. So if you're micro stamped, okay, it's like when you buy a firearm from Smith & Wesson, who, by the way, won't sell firearms like that in California. They snub the law. Mm-hmm. They say, well, you know what, if you're going to make us do this to our, as well as a few other manufacturers, trailing off a little bit here, is what California wanted anyways. For them to say, you know what, if you're going to make us do that, we're not even going to bring these into California. Screw you. And hey, guess what? Now we don't have legal gun sales in California. I'm sure Leland Yee loved that, and I'm going to get back to that in a minute. But in order for that to happen, you know how like you buy a firearm from Smith & Wesson and you can register your gun with them or whatever, warranty, whatever you do. For the microstamping bit to work, the state would have to have a record of that gun. So when you fire it and you drop brass, they pick it up and they look it up and it's like, oh, this belongs to so-and-so and he lives here. It's an infringement on your privacy, which is the argument. The other part of the problem with that is that law does not apply to law enforcement. So their guns are not marked, just yours. Think about that. And that's why the gun manufacturers had a big problem with it in California and said, screw you, California, we're not going to comply.
So how is that different from striations?
Well,
I mean, it sounds the same. It's like
with the striations on the recovered bullet, they have to find the gun to match it. With the microstamping, they already know whose gun it is. You see what I mean? They pick up the brass and they read it and they say, okay, this belongs to David. This is David's gun, and we know where he lives. Mm-hmm. With the striations, they have to say, did David do it? Let's get a warrant and check his guns and see. Mm-hmm. You see what I mean? That's the difference. But that creates an official database, not a clandestine one like the ATF already has. Yeah, it creates an official database, and that's an infringement on your privacy as well as your 2A rights.
I don't know. It just sounds pretty stupid because I know the ATF already has that stuff because I think I told the story before.
They deny it, but yeah.
Yeah, they came to my house when my guns got stolen. And I told a guy to his face, I was like, you only here because somebody used that gun in a crime. It was stolen. You have the police record because he had it.
Yeah.
He had the file and he knew it. He said the gun was stolen. But then was trying to ask me questions to see if I knew the person. I don't know these people.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. It's just too much.
Have you managed to recover your firearm? Well, gee, I don't know. It's been 10 or 15 years.
And I still get letters every year.
Yeah.
Every year. That happened, what, in 2010 or 11.
Uh-huh.
My gun got stolen. And every year, and I've moved several times since then, they find me,
you.
send me a letter telling me my gun has not been, you already recovered it because you came to my house. The ATF came to my house asking questions about the gun. They even had the serial numbers.
The detectives didn't come.
No.
Police showed up when she initially called and, walked around and filled out some paperwork. But they said a detective will be in touch with you. It never happened.
They called me.
Did they call you?
And this is so weird.
How long after?
I don't remember how long after, but the detective called me at 2:00 in the morning. I'm dead serious. I was asleep, and my phone rang.
That's crazy.
And at 2:00 in the morning, you thinking, okay, it could be my parents. Somebody could have got hurt. My mom, my daddy called me to tell me one of them dead or something, or in the hospital. I get up groggy. I'm on the phone, and I'm like, hello. And the person is shocked that I answered the phone. And they were like, this is Detective somebody from the DeKalb County Police Department.
They do that to catch you off guard.
Yeah, we just calling to follow up on your report of stolen firearms. And now I'm more awake now because that shock you awake. And I look back at the clock. I'm like, it's 2:30 in the morning. Well, I really didn't think anyone would answer the phone.
Why
did you call me?
He didn't want to talk to you.
You got guns stolen.
Or he was trying to catch you off guard.
Yeah, you got guns stolen from my house. You following up. You told me you was going to follow up in a couple of days. I'm thinking, okay, I'll get a phone call. I'll get somebody at my house.
Yeah.
No, I get a phone call 2:00 in the morning. I honestly don't know how long.
Okay.
Between the time. I
thought
can't
he didn't
remember.
contact you.
No, he contacted. And then it was more than a year later when the ATF came by.
Okay.
They came to the house.
Which means something happened.
Something happened. And I told the guy, I was like, look, something happened is why you here. Because nobody else came by. I paid all my taxes. The detective said he was coming. He never showed up. He called 2:00 in the morning.
Yeah.
But he didn't come by. But okay, go ahead. I know we off topic.
It's all right. I mean, it helps to make the point. But anyways, you remember I had mentioned Leland Yee. I brought that up earlier, and I mentioned it in a previous video also. Don't forget that name. And somebody had asked me, they said, how do you know that the guy wasn't framed? I don't know. Maybe he was.
He wasn't framed.
But the point is, for the topic of discussion, it fits. Leland Yee, of course, was a former senator of San Francisco. He was a senator for 9 years, career politician. He's always been in politics. Senator was his pinnacle of political jobs. And he was a huge anti-gun, pro-legislation activist. Big time. He got a lot of rewards and awards and accolades for his hard stance on taking guns away from people, away from the population. He was also a notorious kingpin international gun smuggler, as it turns out. And in 2007, when he got, if I'm not mistaken, I believe this is why he got the Brady Award, the Brady from the gun bill, Brady Award for protecting citizens from gun violence, whatever, for microstamping. That was his puppy. He wrote up the whole laws and charters on it, or he was at least a major part of that team, and that's why he got the award. So the microstamping was his idea. He's the one that brought that in. And it reminds me of Taggets, because they tried to do that after the Oklahoma City bombing, I think. Where they was the federal building, right? In Oklahoma City, yeah, with the fertilizer bomb, allegedly. Don't get me going on that, because none of that makes sense either. But they wanted to put Taggets in the fertilizer, and that's like, it's a tiny thing, smaller than a grain of rice, but it's got a barcode on it. So if somebody used a bomb made out of natural materials like that, they could trace where it was purchased from. Where'd you buy the fertilizer? Oh, well, the little barcode on the surviving plastic tagget will tell you. But it was unrealistic because those taggets would be everywhere anyways because you use so much fertilizer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they dumped it, but it reminds me of that. But that was Leland Yee's puppy. That was his baby back in, it's what made him so popular in San Francisco in 2007 when they were kissing his ass. Before he got in trouble for international gun smuggling, which made him a massive hypocrite, which is why I talk about it. But he was in the boys club, so it was okay. Quick question here. I'd love to talk more on it, but if you were arrested as an international gun smuggling kingpin, how much time do you think you would do in jail? Think about that, because I'll tell you, Leland Yee, he's already out. He was in jail for a year waiting for sentencing, sentenced in 2016, put in Taft, I believe, Taft Correctional Facility in California, which is a minimal security, you know, one of those country club kind of jails that you hear about. And he was released in 2020 and put into a halfway program. So 4 years, 5 with the time he was waiting for sentencing, if he was in jail during that time, because he could have been out on bail. I don't know. I didn't check that. If you got arrested for that, or I got arrested for that, I bet you I'd be sitting in jail for 20 plus years, easy.
Yeah.
Hard time. I'd be in Gen Pop. I wouldn't be playing racquetball and having conjugal visits. You know what I mean? I gardening and jogging around the compound. But I just wanted to throw that out there if people didn't understand what that was. Again, it was already made a law in California back in 2007. They're just now doing it in New York. It's total bullshit, but it sets a precedence, and that's what you really have to be careful about. Anyways, thoughts? Anybody has any thoughts on that? Feel free to post your thoughts in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of it. I hope that you did. Share it if you can. Probably the only way it'll get seen, because ScrewTube hates this channel. Subscribe if you're new. Check out some of the other videos. If you saw random cat or dog images, they're strays that we help to take care of, and it actually helps with the loading algorithm. If you wanted to help the channel out, or the strays for that matter, there are links for that down below. Every little bit helps, and we sure do appreciate it. And if that's it, then what more can we say? But stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.